What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sober DJ podcast. My name is Eric C. With me, as always, we got the great DJ Mike Alvarez. How you doing today?
I'm good, Eric. And just so we corrected on show number 1 here, it's Alivris.
Wait, I've been calling you Alvarez for all these years, and it's
For 7
Alivris.
years? Yeah, it's Alivris. Yeah.
You've never corrected me before. That's
I
on
don't
you.
think I've ever heard you actually say it wrong before, at least not in front of me.
No, I probably just said it to other people, to be honest with you.
But
Nobody
that's
else
okay.
is correcting me.
But dude, that's okay. My whole life it's been Alvarez, Alvirez, somebody screwing it up and mispronouncing it. So yeah, it's Alivris. It's Greek.
Alivris. Oh my God! All this time I thought you were Puerto Rican. I swear to
Yeah,
God.
not one bit.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, as you guys know, we're here on this channel. I talk a lot about my sobriety, and this show is kind of dive deeper into some of those stories that I've told you guys. When Mike first reached out to me, I was excited at the thought of delving deeper into some of these stories, and he stopped me a few times because we've literally kind of started doing that in person. He'd be like, I'm not going to ask no more questions because I want to save it for later so I can act genuinely surprised. And that's what brings us here to today to this show. And it's the Sober DJ podcast now. This is the test one. Hopefully, this never sees the light of day. But if it does, you guys know where we're coming from. But yeah, my name's Eric, and everybody knows I'm an alcoholic. So, Mike, what's your story?
All right, so Eric and I have known each other for we figured it out about 7 years now. We both are DJs. We both DJ in the mobile entertainment space, weddings, uh, nightlife, bar mitzvahs, things like that. And I've known for a couple of years about Eric's sobriety, and about a month or so ago, when he shared online that he had a relapse, I reached out to check on him to see how he was doing, let him know I was, I here for him if he needed to talk. And as I was talking to him, I said, dude, I think that, it would be interesting to do this as like a conversation and as a podcast with someone asking you questions. And, I've told Eric, like, hey, don't stop putting out solo content. Don't stop anything that's helping your recovery. But I thought it'd be interesting that on a regular basis, we sit down and chat and, we go kind of deep dive and go with the origin story of where Eric's been, where he's going, what he's up to. And we'll get off of, talking about his sobriety. On occasion, we might talk about pop culture stuff and the DJ industry. We want this to kind of be an evergreen podcast that anybody can listen to. But I ultimately said to Eric, the number one goal is if this is going to help his sobriety and help him out, I'm all for it, and I'd like to be a part of it. And here we are. So, this is kind of like our pilot episode. Hopefully, it goes well, and if it's good enough, we'll let you guys all hear it. And otherwise, we're just going to keep it for ourselves.
Exactly. And when Mike called me, I was so excited because I've been looking for somebody to do a show with, and he didn't know that. And I had a few people that were interested, and then for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And so I'm excited about this, especially the concept. Mike had the best concept too, because I always saw it going as, you know, you know, almost more boring than the way Mike explained it. Probably just talking more about sobriety, but like the fact that we could talk more about, like you said, like kind of keeping it like an evergreen podcast where we could talk DJ stuff, we could talk pop culture stuff, and we can also at the same time share crazy stories of my life. I was like, that's brilliant. That's the show right there. It wouldn't even have to get creative or fancy with the name. It's already the channel name, the Sober DJ podcast. So kept it nice and simple. We didn't get fancy with it, and like I said, that here's where we are.
Yeah,
And
I was
I
going to
figured.
say, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, you know, it's just an extension of what you've already been doing, Eric. I just think it's a different dynamic. I think it's something that, lends itself, like, because when I would watch some of the videos you'd put out solo, I'd be like, well, wait a minute, I want to ask about this, or I want to ask about this, or like, I want to hear more, because I think you've led a, interesting life and gone through a lot that can help a lot of people, whether it's DJs or non-DJs. It's another person sharing their story. And you and I talked about how there's a lot of podcasts along this kind of topic, but it's kind of just about, the actual like nuts and bolts of the recovery. And I guess this is more of, a story that we're trying to tell.
Yes, it's the behind the scenes stuff that you don't really hear about too much, which some of the stuff's funny. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the stuff's funny. Some of it's kind of cringe, and some of it, you know, some people might go, "Oh, I've done that myself." But I've always found that whenever I'm telling a story, and I told Mike this last week when we went out to dinner, we were talking about the show. I said, those one uppers, those people that one up everybody. I go, I swear I have a story that correlates with everything somebody's talking about, and and a lot of times I will say, Eric, you don't have to tell your story this time because you're gonna sound like that one upper guy because you always got a story. And so therefore, I'll hold back sometimes to just listen to somebody else's story. And go, damn, okay, cool. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I got this crazy story ready to go that correlates with what the group's talking about.
Yeah.
And
And the other
that's what we're
thing,
at today.
yeah, the other thing that we two other things that we talked about when we chatted on the phone. Like when I called Derek on the phone, man, bro, what did we talk on the phone for like 2.5, 3 hours?
Yeah.
And we were talking about, what was currently going on with you, but also this podcast idea, or at least in this format. And you would start to say something, say, nope, shut up. Like, I don't want to know now because we're going to talk, because this could be a podcast episode or this could be a
Yeah.
topic. And I want to get I want to hear it for the first time because uh, I am not a recovery specialist. I do drink alcohol socially at times, but I'm coming at it from a different perspective than where Eric's coming at this from.
Mm.
And the other thing that we kind of talked about was, man, like I asked Eric point blank, I'm like, there any restrictions here? And he's like, no, man, it's no holds barred. Like you can ask me and we'll go there. So that was kind of like my only thing was like, as long as this helps his recovery, as long as this is something he wants to do, I'm on board to, ride the lightning with him and see where it goes.
And yeah, and for those wondering where it would help my recovery, where it helps my recovery is, I've tell these stories sometimes, and I've told some of these stories that we'll rehash, and then there's a bunch that I haven't told. But one thing that tends to happen is because I'm just talking to the camera by myself, I kind of just tell the story, and if somebody were there to say, wait, hold on a second, wait, you do what, and then I were to stop and think, there's so much more detail that I gloss over
Mhm.
in some of these stories that I think gets lost. And I can go back to some of my videos. For example, my first DWI story. There's so many details left out of there, not on purpose, just because I'm just telling the story as I'm recounting it. But if I was asked questions about it, it would I would instantly, instead of a 10-minute video, it'd have a 40-minute video because there's so much more that when I watch that video back, I go, oh, I totally forgot about this or that, or, you know, um, just so many little details that make the story that much either better if you're just somebody who wants to listen, or if you're somebody going through it that could help you, either
Yeah.
or, you know. And I love the fact that we could talk DJ stuff too. That's another good thing. Like people I've reached out to before that I've talked about having this show with, you know, we didn't have much in common. They were just like good talkers. But the fact that we go the route of DJ stuff too sometimes, so everybody gets a little taste of something they like on here or want to hear. I love, So I was all in.
Cool,
I couldn't
man.
start. We couldn't start fast enough. I'm
Yeah.
waiting on his mic to get in. He's using his
Yeah.
laptop
Real.
mic today.
Yeah. We're going gangster style today. All right. And so, Eric, I had pitched to you, I said, we're going to, start at the beginning because I got questions already in my head that I want to ask
Yeah.
you, and we'll go until we go here. So, what's your full name, dude?
Yeah, my full name is Eric Catalano. Uh, my dad's Italian, my mom's Mexican, so I'm Italian and Mexican. So that last name works on both fronts.
Nice. And Eric, are you an alcoholic?
My name's Eric, and yes, I am an alcoholic.
How long you been sober for, buddy?
So now I've been sober for. Sorry, I got to pull out my app. I have it on an app here. Oh crap, my phone
They have an
broke.
app for that?
Yeah, it tracks your time. So my phone just broke over the weekend. I think it's 42 days. If I remember correctly, I got to add it back onto this phone. I know my date.
We'll say
I gotta
40
pull up
plus
my
days.
yeah.
That's good. I should have figured there's an app for that.
Yeah, it's an app. It's a counter app. It's great.
Mhm.
It sits there and you can have it track your different things. So I had it tracking, alcohol and cocaine. So I had my sobriety date for both. Ironically, they didn't actually line up with the same day because I had stopped doing the last time I had done cocaine was not the last time I drank. Originally it was. They went together, and then I when I originally got sober, I 30 days later relapsed for one day, but I only drank.
Mhm.
So they were 30 days off. I always thought that was kind of funny.
Hmm. All right, so we know you're been sober now for 40 plus days, so keep up the good fight, bro. I like that. I guess my first question always in my head was what when did you first have a drink or what was your first I mean, was drinking your first thing you got introduced to or was it drugs? Like where'd you get your first taste? And you can ask me
Yeah.
when I first tried alcohol if you think it's relevant, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious like where did this start?
So I'll tell you when I had my first taste, which was just a sip, and then I'll tell you when I had my first drink. So my first taste was when I was probably like 4 or 5. Me and my cousin Jamie,
You said
her dad
4 or
left. Yeah,
5?
her
Okay.
dad left a beer open, and we just wanted to take a taste, and
Right.
we thought it was so gross. I don't know, it was like a Bud Light or
Mhm.
uh Mick Gold, I don't know, some one of the beers from the 80s. And it was so disgusting. We both just took a little sip off the big can. I was like, "Ugh." It was like,
'Cause you
that's so
saw the
gross.
adults having the drinks or whatever,
So
"Let
the
me
adults,
try
yeah.
that." Right, right, okay.
And I think that's something maybe a lot of kids have done. A lot of people have done, like, a lot of people's first, if you think about a sip, or I don't think drink, but like your first sip, maybe you saw an adult's can just sitting there, like, I'm
Mhm.
curious. And then my first drink actually happened when um, I was 12 or 13, or I think I was 12, about to turn 13. It was the day. So my first drink, ironically, corresponds with the day I lost my virginity. Um, so me and my buddy Jay invite these girls over to my house. I can't remember if we skipped school or if it was summer. I think it was summer. And I remember because the pool was open. And I went to my parents' liquor cabinet and I made a screwdriver, right? We had orange juice in the house and vodka. So everybody got screwdrivers. It's the only drink I knew how to make. Seen that. And by 12 or 13, you kind of have an idea. And I was like, I can make this drink. And it it wasn't good.
Right.
I didn't know anything about pouring and measuring out or anything like that.
So it was, like,
So
way too much vodka and a little bit of orange
little
juice
bit of
type
orange
thing?
juice, yeah. Yeah, and we could all taste the vodka, and, I don't even think I drank the whole thing, but I drank enough. I got a buzz, and, I was scared because I didn't wanna be drunk, because I've always been paranoid. This is a funny thing, as I'm always paranoid to take drugs or something I haven't done before because I have this fear. Like, I don't smoke weed because it freaks me out, and that's usually the first drug a lot of people try.
Right.
Um, and it freaks me out because I'm the guy who calls 911 on himself. So I had my first drink that day. I got a buzz, lost my virginity, and the rest is history.
I mean, I'm assuming the young lady was having some drinks too?
No, no, just me and my buddy Jay did. That was just like our thing to loosen up, to look cool, to be cool. I think girls probably thought it was stupid.
I mean, we don't need to go completely down this road, but I'm assuming did you have it in your head, the intention that, "Hey, I'm gonna hook up with this girl," or that just came about by
So
accident or
no, it was planned. It was my girlfriend at the time, so it was planned. So I was super nervous, and I
Yeah?
was like, "Hey, I'll have a drink. I'll loosen up. That seems to work for the adults."
I mean, at
And
13, I'd be terrified.
yeah, I was terrified, and my friend was so terrified that he didn't end up hooking up with the other girl who came. Um, and she called him a prude or something like that.
Wow.
For those that don't know, a prude in the 80s or 90s was a person who didn't want to do anything. I don't know if they still use that word.
Yeah.
Um, but he ended up just hanging out with the girl, and she was totally down. I don't know if she'd already done it before or whatnot, but he blew his shot, and it took him 5 years, 5 more years. Jay, I'm sorry, I'm out of here. It took him 5 more years after that, so he turned 17 when he finally lost his.
Alright. Well, just full disclosure for me, like, I can say, like, the first sip or taste I ever had of a alcoholic drink was my dad having a beer somewhere, and my dad is not a big drinker, never has been a big drinker to this day, doesn't drink barely at all. But, I was a kid, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range, and dad had a beer. "Let me try it, let me try it, let me try it." "You're not gonna like it, you're not gonna like it." "Oh, I don't care, let me try it, let me try it." Took a sip, "Oh, that's disgusting,"
Yeah,
hated it. And then it probably the first time, like, actually had a full beer and drank was at some high school house party. Someone's parents away, open crib, puts the word out. Next thing a third of the school in that grade has descended upon that house, and people are playing beer pong and what was that card game? Asshole, bullshit.
Asshole. Oh my
Yeah,
god, yeah.
playing
Do the kid
asshole, and people with 30 packs of BL and Beast and whatever cheap beers they could get their
Oh,
hands on, or
Milwaukee's
get
best beast.
yeah, or get have someone's older brother or sister get their hands on it. And so yeah, it was some house party, and uh that was my introduction to it. When my next question is, like, after that, at 12 and 13, when you had your first like drink,
Yeah.
was it a thing that through high school you were doing more, or was there like a big gap before you
Yeah.
really jumped into I enjoy drinking alcohol and
Yeah.
stuff? Like, what was the next spot in the timeline? Where did you end up next?
So I didn't really necessarily pick up drinking right from there. I think there was probably a few times where I revisited that vodka bottle that slowly got replaced with water to make sure in case my dad was measuring. Um,
Right.
you know, so the vodka got weaker as we went on. Um, sorry, Dad. By the way, funny story. Just to backtrack for
You're
a
not the
second
only
here.
person that probably does. Kids do that all the time.
Oh, yeah, because parents are looking.
Hmm.
But just to kinda backtrack on your story, it's funny. My dad always drank beer. My grandfather had a six-pack every night of Milwaukee's Best for his whole life until he couldn't drink no more. Milwaukee's Best too, and my grandfather made so much money. I could never understand why he drank the cheapest beer. So gross. I'm like, I used to tell him, "Papa, that's what broke kids in school drink. Why are
Yeah.
you drinking that?" But it's what he liked. But my dad never let me get a beer from the fridge. I was never said, "Hey, go get me." A lot of parents go, "Hey, go get dad a beer." If my dad's friends said, "Hey, Eric, go get me a beer," my dad would yell at them and say, "Eric, no, you don't. You don't touch it." So it was actually my dad was very cautious to keep me away from it. And I've always wondered if that was not his fault, but like if that was my allure to it because there was this I can't touch it, but the adults can. And
Right.
I always want to do things that adults want to do. But back to your question, yeah, no, I kind of, you know, did it's not like it became an instant thing, but after you taste it once, the next time you get your chance, you're like, hey, I've drank before. I'm
Right.
kind of a pro, everybody. I'll be the one to lead the crew. And first of all, it'd be either, stealing from your parents, or if you were lucky enough to have somebody who had an older brother that was willing to go buy 14 and 15-year-olds beer, whatever he came back with, and most people would think it was gross. And I also thought it was gross. But one thing I was able to do is I was able to go, well, screw it. We have it. When's the next chance I'm going to get to drink and get a little buzzy? And I never wanted to get drunk. I never wanted to be fall down drunk. I didn't like that feeling back then. But that little buzz of that you get when you have like three beers,
Right.
as an adult, but at that age, three beers kind of brought you a little bit past the buzz, so you were a little drunk, but you were still there. Um, with the exception of one time, I think where I got convinced to take like 12 double shots of vodka straight.
Oof.
And then I was 16 and I was just stumbling down the block. And then I
12
didn't drink
double
for a little
shots.
bit.
You're drinking 24 shots.
Yeah. And I just got drunk in front of everybody. My friends gassed me up, said my girlfriend at the time was cheating on me, and I tried to walk to her house. I could barely walk. I don't even know how, to this day, I don't know how I got there. And then I didn't touch it for a little bit because that was a little scary for me. Because, like I said, I was always scared of alcohol and drugs.
When was
And
that? At 16, you said?
that was at 16. So again, I'm still dabbling a little bit, not full time doing it, just like when it's there, it's there. Um, we had this friend eventually found this friend whose mom, was it her mom or her aunt? Either way, I guess that doesn't matter, but didn't care that we all drank there or if anybody smoked. I didn't smoke, but a lot of people smoked there. And
You're
everybody
talking
just
smoking
came to
weed or
hang
just
out.
smoking cigarettes as kids?
Weed, cigarettes too. I was smoking cigarettes at that age. I started smoking cigarettes at the age of 12, 13, like full on. That was something I had to get. So that's why you'll see me hit this vape nonstop because nicotine I'm addicted to. Um,
And that, I mean, but I'm assuming the getting into the cigarettes was the other kids are doing it, or you saw someone. I'm gonna jump on that train
y-
too.
So the neighborhood I grew up in, a lot of kids were, so me and my friend Bobby Thorpe were the young kids of the group. Everybody else was about 3 or 4 years older than us, so they were like 15, 16. They were smoking early. That was back when you could smoke at 18. I know New York State's 21 now. By the time you could smoke at 18, so they were starting to smoke early. So they were smoking Newports. So, and this store, this corner store, it was called the Lexington Market, would sell underage people's cigarettes.
Right.
And I think that's where some people got some of the beer from too. I think they let a lot of things go at that store, but yeah, I
It
started
seems like
smoking.
every town, all the high school kids or kids underage or whatever the legal age for whatever thing they're trying to get their hands on, you always locate the convenience store, the gas
the
station
bo-
that's
the
got the
bodega,
person,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
that looks the other way. I mean, where I grew up in the lower Hudson Valley in Orange County, New York, we located and found, we knew which spot to go to, or you
yeah.
had the buddy in high school that worked at the place, so I
Yes.
had to hook up, and
Little
and
did we little did we all know that that person is committing a felony every time they do it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
um,
exactly.
it wasn't that serious. It's like, hey, you got the guy that'll sell you the booze or the cigarettes, and you go in and you get them. You hand him the money. You play it off too, like you are old enough, even though he knows you're not. You know you're not, but you play it off cool, like, yeah, just a 6 pack today. Step
Yeah,
on the counter, pack of Newport hundreds, please. And you'd walk out every time giddy with excitement. They're like, oh, I got him again. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, and like you
But
looked like the conquering hero when you showed up to the high school house party or wherever people were hanging out, and
yeah,
you had the
the 12
prized
pack.
possession, 12 pack
Yeah.
or 30 pack, whatever it was.
And
Um,
that was back when a 12 pack could last everybody, if you had 5 or 6 people hanging out. Now,
yeah,
then it then eventually became out of control, and it's like a 12 pack. No, this is for me. I hope you
right,
brought your own.
dude. So when you go from like 12 and 13, when you had the first drink, and we're going ahead to like high school, in the interim, in that time frame in between, were you already starting to, like, if you're home alone, slipping drinks on your own, or is it purely just in the social settings of like
No,
high school friends parties? You're not like already doing the I'm going to drink alone because it's around and I can get my hands on it. We're not that far
no,
along yet. Okay.
no, not even close. You know, that didn't start till I was probably actually, you know, 18 or 19, and I was out of school because I dropped out early, and I was working full time. So, the people I lived with were all to drink, and they would come home and they would drink,
Mhm.
and I just have a couple drinks as well. That's when it became me drinking on a regular. It was probably, like I said, about 18, 19. Because I didn't care.
Had you graduated high school yet? I
No,
would assume no.
I dropped out in ninth grade, so my last grade I completed was eighth. So I had to go work full time jobs. My dad said, "Hey, you either work 40 hours a week or you go back to school." And I was like, "Well, I can't go back to school, so I
What,
guess we're
whoa,
working."
hold on. So your last grade you completed was eighth grade,
Yeah,
and then you dropped out in ninth grade. What's the I don't know if this is important to what we're going to do with this podcast, but I'm curious now myself. What was the reasoning? Why did you drop out of high school as a freshman in such an early year?
yeah. So, I got it. So I used to get expelled all the time. It's funny when I tell this story about how I've been expelled 7 times. People go, "You mean suspended?" I go, "No, I can't tell you how many times I was suspended. I was expelled 7 times from 6 different schools."
Right.
So I, I literally the ninth grade I went to was Colony High, and the rule was if you get expelled once, you and your parents would come back the following summer before school started. You'd have to sit down with the principal and the what do they call it, the superintendent, and they
Right.
would have a meeting and discuss if they would let you back. And they always let you back one time, right? And it was kind of like you got one mulligan. If you got expelled again, you were
Right.
done with Colony High, and my only other option would have been private school, which my parents were going to pay for when I'm getting kicked out. At this point, I'd been again. So this is my sixth expulsion, in my first year in ninth grade, and then I go to school the next year, make it through football season, and 4 months in, I'm expelled again. So it
For what
was
is the
for
obvious question?
is really just being the class clown. I wasn't. I did get in fights and stuff, but I never really got caught for that. I was getting referrals every day for just talking. I learned at an early age that the worst thing they could do is tell me to leave class and go to in school suspension or go home. And I didn't care. I was like, please send me home. I don't want to be here. Like, I would love to go home. Like, that'd be perfect.
Wait, so
So
you're telling me that a public high school in New York State is expelling you for basically interrupting and being a class distraction?
yeah,
You're
but
not.
let me
Yeah,
elaborate on that.
yeah. I was gonna say there's something missing.
I'll give you one story to kind of explain it. So I had a teacher. I took a condom and I threw it. I was in Spanish class. I threw it at my buddy. Right, thought it was funny. Everybody else thought it was funny too, if I remember right. He threw it back at me. That's when she notices something's going on. She turns around and she says, "Eric, put that away." And I try to play it cool, like it's not mine. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching this.
Right.
I'm not putting this in my pocket. Played it totally cool. Like, you think I just put this on my desk? Nah, somebody threw this towards me. I don't know where this came from, even though I started it. And then I just turned to the person next to me and I just started having a conversation with them, which made the person very uncomfortable. I actually remember who it was too. It was I always get the two sisters confused. Carsabolo was their last name. Because I went to school with one of the sisters and my sister went to school with the other one. I think it was Nikki or Nicole. But anyways, not as important. So I just started talking to her. She's clearly visibly because she wants to not get in trouble, like ignore me. But I'm just having a conversation with her. The principal then tells me, or the teacher then tells me, Eric, seriously, put it away. And I just go, hold on a sec. I'm having a conversation here. That's what I do. I turn to the teacher and say, I'm having a conversation here. She looks at me like, are you serious? So she yells at me, put that away. And I go like this. I pick it up like this. Like I act like it's dirty. I was like, I said, I'm going to throw it away. I'll throw it away. And I get up to her and I get right to her face. I go, I'm throwing it away now. And I waved it in her face and I thought it was funny. And I heard everybody laugh, which was what I was ultimately going for. And I threw it in the trash. And I sit back down and I start having my conversation again. And she says, Eric, go down to the principal's office. Go to Mr. Backus's office. That was our principal.
Mhm.
And I go, no, I'm good. I'm having a conversation here. I told you already. I'm talking. And I was that disrespectful and that disruptive in class that
Gotcha.
and it was things like this all the time. And that was the extreme story, but there was things like this all the time that would get me in trouble. I would tell teachers like they tell me, Eric, quiet, quiet. And I'm like, I'm talking back here. I'm in the back. Come on, just keep talking. I'm not even bothering you. Just kind of leave me alone.
You're
You
gonna
know?
kind of giving them the wave, the hand wave, like I got no
Yeah,
time for
like,
you.
exactly. And so I would just always get referrals. And normally I'd leave class. This one particular time, I didn't want to leave class because I felt like she didn't have me dead to rights with the condom, even though
Mhm.
she did with the talking. But I was like, no, I'm not leaving. I didn't start talking till you said something, and I refused to leave. They called the principal up, and I just lost my shit. And I took my backpack and I just chucked it at the wall about 10 feet away.
Wow.
And I walked out the classroom. Then I went back in, realizing I need my backpack because I'm probably going home. And I grabbed my backpack and I'm like, this is bullshit, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this teacher has it out for me. When clearly I was the one who started this, instigated. And I go down to the principal's office and he goes, Eric, he goes, I told you if you got in trouble one more time, you were done. And I remember just asking him, I go, hey, Mr. Backus, just really quick, do you mind if I stay? This is only like second period. Do you mind if I stay the rest of the day so I could take the bus home? He goes, Eric, you're gonna do what you want anyways. So I just ask that you don't interrupt any classes. Walk around the halls, do whatever you want. Go to lunch. Just please don't disturb nobody. And yes, you can take the bus home. And I was like,
Mm,
cool, because he had realized that you might as well just let me do what I want. Uh, it's better for everybody because otherwise I'll be a distraction.
mhm.
So I did. I just walked around class and said my goodbyes to everybody, and that was my last day of school. Came home and like I said, my dad said you either find a way to go back to school, meaning like yeah, which I don't even know what his plan was because he wasn't going to pay for me to go to private school, and I couldn't pay
And
for it.
so this expulsion thing you said happened 7 times from 6 different schools.
Yeah, because
And you
Colony High was twice.
right, so Colony High was the one that you kinda got, like, the do-over, like, you got expelled once, we'll let you come back, got bounced again, and then this
Yep.
happened 6 more times in other schools.
Yep.
Okay, I'm understanding that now. And after ninth grade, after you finally got booted from the last school, and private schools out of the question. The old man says, "Get a jobby job, go to work."
Yep.
Now,
And again, getting a job now, think about it, you know, when you're 16, 'cause I think I was 16 at the time, you have working papers in New York State. I don't know how
right,
this is in other states, but you can't work 40 hours. So I remember
correct.
getting a job. I went and got a job and I said, Dad, I can only work 20, I think it was 26 or 28 hours. He goes, well, then you find another job that'll give you the rest of the hours. and
And
I
did
ended
your
up when I
father
was,
make you pay rent?
no, he didn't. I think he told me to, but never really enforced it.
Because like when I went to college after high school, I graduated high school, I went to college, and I was not in the right headspace for college at the time. Like I didn't want to go to class. I didn't want to, you know, buckle down and do the hard work. Wanted to play hockey in college. I wanted to, party and have a good time, and I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I after college, I came home. I think I did a semester at community college, thinking that that might be better in and living at home instead of being in a dorm. And
Yeah.
that, I didn't enjoy. I Same thing. I just didn't want to be there. Didn't want to do it. School was not for me at the time. Post high school, and I remember my parents saying, If you're not in college, if you're not in school full time, you're paying rent. You are not going to live rent free in this house." And it was like $200 a month or whatever, but I ended up paying rent to my parents to live under their roof,
See,
and didn't go back to college.
my dad was very practical, and also not just practical, but like very smart. I don't think he charged me rent then. I do remember when I came back when I was like 21, he
Yeah,
charged me rent. By the time I'm 16,
yeah,
so I have to live under your roof still. We're kind of caught in a catch 22 here,
right.
Dad. You know what I mean? But he wanted me working, and at 17 is when I found the job that I was working with people that were 21, 22, 23, and I ended up moving out, and that's when the introduction to drinking and drinking games and going out all the time
Because you're with a bunch of
became a thing.
guys that are college age who have
Exactly.
they have disposable incomes because they got
Yep.
jobs, but
Yep.
they're not in school and they got no responsibilities, no kids, no wife, no mortgages.
Nope.
Like it's pretty
We were,
much a frat
we're
house.
right. We were making $100 a day, and the type of business I was in, the job was door to door sales, so it's very frat housey environment, right? So
Right.
everybody's hanging out with everybody, and again, I'm the youngest out of the crew, and we're just all drinking, and I remember
So
stomaching those first couple beers, and then eventually being like, I find the one I liked, and telling them, hey, grab me a 6 pack or a 12 pack of this, and I was getting to make options for the first time. I didn't have to drink with whatever I got stuck with or whatever, because I had people that were 21, 22 going to the store to get the alcohol. Um, and yeah, that was a good time. I was there for about a year at that house, and then I moved on, and I stayed in that company, but I moved around the country, and for 5 years, that was my life, being around, people that were slightly older than me, but I'm close enough in age that we can hang out. We got enough in
right.
common, but
It's
they're,
not like who's this young kid, younger brother in the way.
right.
You're one of the guys.
Yeah, I'm 18, 19, 20, they're 21, 22, 23, you're in the same age bracket. Cause again, like you said, we could all been in college together had I gone to school or if they went to
Right.
college. Um, and that's when I first became introduced to like I said, almost it didn't start off, it started off slow, but that's where the daily drinking eventually started.
And just to go back, I'm going to backtrack for half a second here. Or I don't even know if we need the whole story, but have you ever gone back, got your GED, or did you just, I'm done with high school and you've never looked back?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I was always successful once I left and started working on my own. Um, I kind of always worked for myself, with the exception of when I was in the military. Um, and that is, speaking of the military, why I got my GED. I never wanted to get my GED. I thought it was cool to be basically eighth grade dropout because that was my last grade completed and being successful. And and I liked not having the GED to go with it. But when I decided I wanted to join the military, which I made that decision early on, probably like a lot of people did after 2001, you know, when I was finally old enough, I knew I wanted to serve my country. We were very patriotic back then, and I couldn't get in because of the lack of my school. Um, no GED. I had a few arrests already that I had to um, get waivers for. So
How
it
old were you at
wasn't
that time?
well when I first turned 18. Um, is when I first tried to join. So I think in 2001 I was how old was that? If I was born in 83, I would have what 17, 16, 17 when 9/11 happened. And so right away I knew the rest of my family had served too. So I was like, I want to serve. I think I always wanted to serve, but that time really kind of pushed me into it. And from the time I was 18 and old enough, I'd always go into recruiting stations trying to get in, but I couldn't get in. It wasn't until they started dropping the standards to allow people in because they needed bodies. Um, that
Right.
I went ahead and finally got a recruiter that took the time to get the waivers for my criminal history. It wasn't expansive at this point, but
And don't worry, folks. People that are listening to this podcast, we're going to delve into his arrest record and get there eventually.
exactly. Um, and I finally got a recruiter that was willing to work through those things, and it was at 21 or 22 I finally got in,
Okay.
and then I shipped off the basic training.
All right. So, but the being and joining the military, and I'm sure we'll go having a whole episode to talk about your military history and what that entails in your story. But that was kind of the impetus to I have to get my GED.
Yeah, because I had no choice. Like you have to have a GED or your high school diploma to get in.
Mhm.
Minimum required. It's just kind of like, all right, listen, they dropped the standards as low as they did. They were allowing guys with tattoos that were visible in. So they were allowing people you could join without your GED, but get your GED. They would send you
Wow.
away for 2 weeks to go get it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like you
Um,
will we'll let you join with the expectation that you're going to get this
Not
eh,
expectation. You
or a
are going
requirement.
to
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, you are going to get it because they send you to a place called Peck. But I end up having to I at the time I was just kind of so screwed up in my life and in my head. Um, you can only do that if you completed ninth grade. I thought I completed ninth grade. I'm thinking all this happened when I was in 10th grade, right? I'm not thinking straight. It's just, life was quicker at the time. And so I find out that I hadn't actually completed ninth grade. That's where I learned that from. It's not something that I remembered, which is ironically kind of weird that I don't remember that, right? And the recruiter comes back and goes, "Hey, listen, you actually, according to your school transcripts, your last grade you completed was eighth. You didn't complete ninth, even though you think you did." I
Mhm.
go, I could have sworn Texas I completed it, and that's another side story down the road. While I was in Texas for a short time before I came back to New York, because I remembered it as I completed ninth in Texas, but because Texas doesn't do regions, New York made me retake ninth grade. That's how I thought I remembered it, but apparently that was not the case. So I uh I went ahead and what's it
I'm
called?
assuming that you were in Texas during ninth grade because you said your parents, family members served in the military, so you're a military family.
No, 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 no. Not at this point. They all served uh before I was born. My
Okay.
grandfather just retired out there. My mom was out there because I was getting in trouble a lot because I've been expelled from so many schools. My dad sent me
Mm.
to Texas and I got
Change of
expelled.
scenery type of thing.
Yeah, and I got expelled from all those schools.
So your parents
So
are divorced.
yes, yes. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. But
Mhm.
crap, what was I saying? I was saying the
Well,
oh
we're
yeah, so I thought I completed. So I ended up having to go get my GED on my own. So I found and I had got everything else done. They said, "Listen, Eric, you have everything done. You have 30 days before we got to restart your packet again to get into the military." So I call around all the GED locations around the state, finding the next available test. I found Rochester was doing one the next day without any studying. I go up, I just take the test, I pass, and I was able to get in, and we're good.
okay. So you've been doing this full-time job, doing door-to-door sales. You've been making money, and you're drinking regularly. Now, are we talking like you and these 20, 21-year-old guys you're living with? You guys drinking, 5 nights a week? Is it just on the weekends, like
Oh
Friday,
yeah,
Saturday night? I mean, what are we
no,
talking
pretty,
about? Like socialize?
we're pretty much drinking like every day, like you would if you're in college, I guess. Maybe there were some days we took off. I don't remember. I don't
But,
really
like, you
remember.
put
Like
in a
maybe,
day's work, come home, let's crack some beers and chop it up type of
yeah,
thing?
and you call some girls or whatever, and everybody
Right.
hangs out. And because the job was a very frat housey environment, and also what's a sorority environment for the girls. You know what I mean? Like it was equally guys and girls. So everybody hung out with everybody. Those were your friends at the time, and everybody just drank.
Right.
People came over every night or every other night. Maybe there's a night where you were tired and you just went to bed and didn't drink, but for the most part, yeah, the game was on.
So that literally would you say that, you know, that job, that work environment at that age is really kind of forming, "I like the taste of alcohol, and I'm doing this
I I think I kind of
regularly?"
already I think I already kind of liked the taste, but I think no matter what job I would have been in, I think it would have happened. I think inevitably I was I was gonna end up in this position somehow, some way. I truly believe that's how I feel. Some people might feel different, like now maybe if you went a different path, it would have been different. But I think it would have happened no matter what. You know what I mean? I was very I have an addictive personality. So as soon as I ever got my hands on alcohol, or whatever I got my hands on, it was gonna be a thing. It's just a
Right.
matter of that's when it started for me.
Gotcha. And,
So if I would have worked at McDonald's, I think it still would have happened. I would have hung out with somebody who was old enough, after work. So I don't think no matter where I worked, it would have mattered.
eventually, your personality would have drawn you to the people or the situation to I'm gonna
I think so. Yeah,
I mean, would it be a stretch then that if you had regular access or had been exposed to card games or the house card poker games or whatever online poker, you could be addicted to gambling? Is that
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
I got an addictive personality, so yeah, 100%. If I would have been around gambling or I don't know, it's scary to think, but if I would have been, this happens to kids, their parents are heroin addicts. If I was
yeah,
exposed to that, maybe I would have been a heroin addict. Thank God I've never. That's a drug I've never tried, and I don't ever intend to.
right,
But yeah, I think I was predisposed kind of to whatever I latched onto. We were going to get addicted to.
gotcha. And we'll delve more into this stuff. I mean, I'm jotting down notes so I can remember this stuff and go back
It's
to
like my
future.
therapist.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not a therapist. It's just I find your life story, what you've been through, fascinating. I think it's a story that needs to be told, and it's you know, and like I said to you, hopefully it's going to help you out, staying sober and living living a life you deserve, and not go down the path of what you've been through beforehand. So we'll ask a couple more questions and then kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
For this first episode. But so you're 17, you're working full time, you're working with these 20, 21-year olds doing door to door sales. Just out of curiosity, I don't need the whole backstory. What were you selling? You selling like vacuum
Yeah.
cleaners or Ginsu knives? What are we doing?
That's the first thing everybody asks is, was it vacuum cleaners? I go, no. Although I did do that for a short time, and that's a story for another day. But no, I worked for a company called DS Max, and for anybody who remembers them, they had different divisions. They had the advertising division, which was the ad I answered the paper. And so I was 17. My girlfriend at the time, I was staying at her parents' house because I was kicked out of my house. She's like, if you guys both going to be here, you got to go get jobs. So I'm faced with that again, and so we answered an ad in the paper, and the ads were designed to find people like me, young people that are a little bit impressionable.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I forget what the ad was, but it was probably one of the ones that was like sports, come work with a company that markets and advertises, national sports teams like the Yankees and all that.
Right,
It was an ad like that. Because the company had worked with the Yankees or whatever before, so they were able to say that.
right.
This office didn't work with us, so it was selling. Uh, the first division I went in was advertising, was selling door to door these VIP cards for $21.
Mhm.
It'd be like Papa John's, $21.
Yep.
You get two free pizzas right off the bat, which gave you your $21 back. And then after that was buy one, get one. And the pitch would be something along the lines of, Do you guys order pizza here? And in New York, that was
Right.
easy. Of course we do. Cool. How often do you think you order? At least once a week? Yeah, cool. Yeah. And you probably get what? Two pizzas? You got a family, probably two pizzas at a time? Yeah, yeah, probably about two. I go, how would it sound if every time you order a pizza, the second one was free? Yeah, you're giving them questions that they just can't say no to, you know?
Right, right.
And you go, well, check it out. Here's what we got. Boom, you put the card in their hand. You go, Papa John's doing this thing right now where for 21 bucks, which by the way, you get that right back. You get this pizza right here just for buying it and going and meeting them. It was called the Meet the Manager special. You get the first pizza free. And then on your birthday, you're gonna have a birthday this year, right? Yeah, of course you are. On your birthday, you also get a free pizza. And then every other time you order from here on out for the rest of the year, all these little coupons right here, you pay for one, the second one's free, and people would just eat them up. And then we'd be like, how many do
Yeah.
you need? Because, people love giving these away for gifts, blah, blah, blah. And then we did golf courses. The oil change ones were the best. The oil change ones you could literally just go crazy with because it gave you two free oil changes. And an oil change was more than 20 bucks back then. Now it's
Right.
really expensive, but back then it was like about 25 bucks. You got two free oil changes, half price New York State inspection. So those things sold like hotcakes. People were like, I have six cars. Can I have six of them? You know what I mean? It was just how many cars do you have in your family and household? And by the way, do you want to call any of your brother or sister, see if they want them too?
Right.
I'll give you a deal if you get a couple, because I just had to turn in $11 per card. So I didn't care. I wanted to get rid of
You
all
made
30
you
cards
made
I had on.
10 bucks per card.
Yeah, and if I made a lot of people wouldn't come down on the price, but I was like, if I get rid of all 30 cards, obviously the oil change ones were easy. Some of the other ones were a little difficult, but I always thought like, all right, if I only make eight per card, but I sell seven cards that day as opposed to selling three cards and I make 10, which way do I make more money? And I think that's where my business mind kind of developed. Like, made sense not to have these things left in my hand when I went back to the office, where some guys would have a bad day and they'd have them all. I'm like, man, you couldn't even just sell one for 10 bucks to look like you sold something. Like, you came back with a zero, a donut egg.
Gotcha.
Boggled my mind all the time.
Gotcha. That's interesting that you had like a business mindset and your obvious skill at being able to sell off these VIP cards is translated for DJing to sell your services on that. Because I
Yeah.
mean, we don't go door to door, but we're constantly talking and selling ourselves to potential clients on, hey, why you should book me. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to need a DJ. You want to have a great party, don't you? It's a question
Yeah.
that they're not going to say no to. Yeah, we want to have a great party. Well, good, hire me.
Yeah. And it's a great example, too, of what a lot of people don't know. And I'm sure some people know this, but not everybody knows it in the DJ world. If you advertise on Wedding Wire, when somebody fills out your link, it goes to three or four other vendors. So sometimes we're cold calling these. You think that the lead came to your inbox directly, but we have found out. I just found this out just last year that it goes to three or
Yeah,
four other vendors. So you're cold calling a lot of these people when you call them or reach out to them. So you got to sell yourself because they didn't even reach out
yeah.
to you,
I mean,
and that helps tremendously. What I learned
yeah,
right there.
we can have a whole nother episode on the discussion of wedding wire than not and what we think of those things. We're not
Oh
going down
yeah.
that hole. So I guess,
That might be a two-parter.
yeah, probably. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up really soon here. We're going to kind of cut it off like right before you go to the military. It seems like a clean stopping. But so you're 17, you're working full time, you're selling these VIP cards, you're living with 20, 21 year olds, and you're
Yep.
drinking fairly regularly, not you're
Yeah.
just yourself, but your roommates and friends that you're working with, that sort of thing. How long did you have that job for, and when was it
Yeah.
time to move on to the next stage? Like, I'm done with this. Because when did you, and you said you joined, when did you join the military? Like, you were in?
Yeah. So I did the job for about 4.5 years or so. I started when I was 17. You're supposed to be 18 when you start, but nobody said anything to me. I just filled out the paperwork, and I don't think they put two and two together. Because
I mean,
it
you
was
didn't, like,
close.
lie on the paperwork, like, you put your
I
actual
put
birth
my
date,
actual
they just
I
didn't
put
do
my
the
actual
math and look at it.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And my girlfriend at the time, she was 18. And so I think they just nobody ever asked me straight up, "Are you
Right,
18?" And I straight up didn't tell nobody. So I do that. I actually get to the ownership level, which is what a lot of these multi-level marketing companies do. And I
right.
end up in Denver, Colorado, where I have, you know, I get up my office up to like 20, 25 people that are working underneath me. We're doing really good. And I think this is a good place to leave it off. That's the first time I get introduced to cocaine. And
Okay.
and that's where, for the first time in my life, I'm faced with, holy crap, we have a problem. And I
And
have
this
to
is
do something to stop it.
before you joined the army.
This before I joined the military, yeah.
You were in the army, I'm assuming, or Navy? Well, I mean, I never even
I was
asked.
in the I was in the army, yeah. I
Yeah.
was in the army, and I joined when I ended up coming back to New York, after getting my wife at, like, late. I was about to be 23, but I was 22, but I was about to be 23. Um, I decided to join. Well, no, I remember I'd always wanted to join, but I finally got in. When I was doing this door to door job, I would always come around a recruiter's office. I'd walk into every recruiter's office I ever could. I would hit all 4 or 5 branches of the military if the Coast Guard was there as well. You know, trying to get somebody to talk to me, and they're like, if you got too much, or yeah, it'd be tough to get you in. You're overweight right now too. On top of that, I really had to wait for them. It was 2006 when I finally got in, because the standards were lower enough that you can get in as kind of a little overweight. They tape you. And like I said, the diploma was a big thing. Automatically disqualify me for the Marines, because the Marines are all about, and I don't think they ever dropped their standards, was for a high school diploma.
Mhm.
But yeah. So like I said, I do the door to door sales thing. I get to the ownership level. I end up in Denver, Colorado. Had my first bout with drugs, which we could delve in deeper later on. But I end up coming back to New York, going to New York City for about 8 months to a year, finishing up door to door there, and then just saying that was my last time I did it. I came home and was like, okay, it's time to do something else. And I went to my dad's construction company before I finally got in the military and shipped off.
And how old were you when you were shipped off and you're in the army?
Yeah, I think by the time I shipped for basic, because my contract I started in September, but I didn't ship for basic till March. So um, and I forget what the reason was. I don't know. Maybe it's because that's when the next class started or something like that. I have no clue why it worked out that way. But I signed up in September, shipped off March 6th or March 7th, and got out in 2012.
Yeah, but I mean, how old were you? What age?
Oh, yeah, I was 22 when I signed the paperwork, but I think I shipped at 23. No, I was 22 still, because I got married.
Mhm.
There's a little blur there. 22, 23,
Okay.
right around there. I'm pretty sure I was 22, but I also got
22,
married.
23. We'll split the baby there.
Yeah,
You're around that age.
there are some things that, as this podcast goes on, and I think people have seen in my other videos, sometimes there's little details that I get confused about, because they kind of blend so close together that I'm like, crap, I don't remember exactly. And that's
Mhm.
one of them right there. That's a good example.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think we're going to stop at around age 22, 23 when you join the army. And don't worry, we're going to go back and talk about what was going down in Denver as
Oh,
well.
of course.
There's a lot there. I'm sure, folks, hopefully you're going to enjoy this podcast and follow us for this ride. I think it's fascinating, where Eric's been, where he is, and where he's going. And each week we'll sit down and we'll just flip on the mics and we're going to talk. Like, we're not scripting and pre-planning this out. Eric doesn't know what questions I'm going to ask him or
Oh,
where I want to go. Um, but I think it's interesting for me and listeners, and hopefully it's beneficial to Eric as well. If you like what we're doing, leave a review, hit the like buttons, follow it, share it, tell people to listen, and kind of come along as we you know hang out with my man Eric here. And yeah, like we said, we'll dive into other stuff. Sometimes we'll hit what's going on in current events, what going on in our own lives. Eric may start turning the tables and start asking me questions about stuff, which is fair, and we've talked about. We'll talk about our DJ exploits and what we've got going on. I'm going to get to see Eric face to face probably in a few weeks at a
yeah.
DJ expo down in Atlantic City. That's where we met originally. So, that's where we are and that's where we're going. But this was just pilot episode number 1, and maybe this will see the light of day. Maybe it won't. Who knows?
Yeah. That's what I'll talk about. But one little funny side 10-second story. So when we met, we
Wait, you're
both
going
went
to
to the
tell a
same.
10-second story? I don't believe it one bit.
Yeah. we when we met, we were both in the Entertainer of the Year competition. At the time, it was called the DJ of the Year competition,
Yes, it was
and both
2016.
we both went to the same suit shop and both got the same suit. Both of us got the same. We both got two suits, right? Because you had two as well, and
Yeah.
we had two colors. And we're like, "Holy crap!" We noticed on day one, we're like, "Shh, you went to Via Roma. I went to Via Roma. Did you get the other
Well,
one?
here's
I
the
got the other one.
interesting part, Eric.
Okay,
We went to this Via Roma suit store, has multiple locations. Now, Eric is in Albany, and he went to the Crossgates Mall, unbeknownst to me, because we didn't really know each other that well. And I went to one in Middletown,
right.
New York, in Orange County. And I'm like, yo, that's a banging suit. Oh, there's multiple colors. Here we go. Because I wanted to have a smoking ass suit for this contest. And it was there was a Monday night kickoff party, opening
Yep.
night party. I wasn't wearing a suit that night. I was holding mine for Wednesday, but I saw you, I think we're wearing the
I was
exact
wearing the maroon one. I was wearing the maroon one,
the maroon
and
one.
that's the one you wore. That's the one you wore for the competition.
No, I wore the silver one.
Oh,
Okay.
so then maybe I was
Yeah.
wearing the silver one because you're like, "Are you wearing that on Wednesday?" I go, "No, I got another one." You're like, "Thank God, we got the same suits." I'm like,
Yeah, I was
"Of
like,
course
"You
you
get
did."
that from Via Roma?" You're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Damn, like so did I." So yeah, we had to plan our fashion, our outfit attire for the
Yeah,
contest. So we
because we were
weren't wearing the
both.
same. Yeah, oh man, that was
Yeah, we
funny.
were both two. We were 212. We were 12 finalists in the competition, and it would have been funny
Wearing the same
as
suit
hell.
that night.
We both
Yeah.
wore the same. So thank God I wore mine that Monday.
Yeah, I do that
We'll
would
leave it there. But
that would have been kind of goofy, silly. Two New York DJs wearing the same damn suit, unbeknownst. But
let's
yeah, I mean that's really where we met and kind of bonded and got to know each other, known each other since then. But yeah, that we always laugh about. We have the same suit. I still bring that suit out every once in a while. It's not in my regular rotation for DJ gigs,
same.
but I still have it, and I'm already kind of thinking about what am I going to wear this year? Am I going to do
Yeah,
something different? So we'll see.
yeah.
All right, thanks
Well,
for
by
listening,
the
man.
way,
Eric, you wrap this thing up.
yeah, I just want to say, hey, Mike, thanks for joining this show with me, man, and kicking us off and finally finding a co-host to do this with. I appreciate it, and hopefully, you guys all enjoy this. And that's all we got for you today. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.